42. Well, we're back now, Rose told Anna. And, for your information, we went upstairs to listen to the stars. Listen to, Anna repeated, then shook her head. I nearly had to go to find Lady Grantham. She looked at Milo, and you should have known better. On a roof at night time. She realized she must have overstepped the mark when Milo turned away with a gasp, hand to mouth. Well, Anna conceded, you're back now. Get into bed, the both of you. You can get a few hours sleep, at least. She shook her head as she followed Milo in. I don't want to have anything to explain to Mr. Bates, she added. Considering the state he was in, Anna thought to herself. For Thomas Barrow was in a state. Getting up to the room he was having to share with Bates and Andy, he was not in the best of moods, considering his anticipation of their reaction to him sharing a room with him. But, that was much lower down on his list of priorities than what he had witnessed Barrow try to do. He was on his feet, and looking about him. Despite being assured Milo had a bed for the night in Rose's room, he still trod the floor, hoping it would tire him, and his thoughts would fade. But instead, after almost an hour of it, he was as angry as ever. A shuffle from the bed opposite, and Thomas realized Bates was sitting up in bed. You'll wear a hole in the floor, he told Thomas. Thomas told him, and stopped walking. Then he threw his fist to his head. Barrow, what's matter with you? Thomas shook his head, but Bates would not give up. I would think you would be happy to have her here, the girl, he ventured. Not here, Thomas told him, for he had just realized there was someone he could talk to about this, who had been through, well, not the same as him, but similar. Bates, she was raped, Thomas told him, in a low voice, as they left the bedroom and took the mirror opposite stairs that Milo and Rose had taken. I know that you know what that must be like. In the moonlight, Bates looked surly, and Thomas qualified. I know that my situation is different to yours and Mrs. Bates. That Milo and I married for convenience. But I married to keep her safe, and what good did that do? But Bates was angry, angrier than Thomas had seen him in a very long time, and he bunched his fist up and thrust it against the wall. Who is he? Because I can arrange for him to fall, or slip, or come to a nasty end. And I understand that the man who raped your wife has come to a nasty end. He just couldn't help himself. But they were being honest. Not by my hand, not by hers, Bates told her. Then Thomas changed tack. Mr. Bates, your mother was Irish. Can you tell me something about the old laws in Ireland? The pre-Christian laws? Somewhat like that. I am given to understand there is something ancient pertaining to inheritance. Something to do with. Thomas shook his head, and inhaled deeply. I don't rightly understand how to explain it. Milo lost her father, and her money was under threat. And you stepped in, and, shortly after our marriage, stepped out again. Mr. Bates. Mr. Crawley drew up the relevant paperwork. He oversaw that everything was proper. But now with the changes in Ireland, does the new government uphold those ancient laws? It is too early to say, I would think, Mr. Bates replied. I can't see that. Historically, such a thing has never been used. Under the circumstances, when the Irish are crying out for anything from before the Normans arrived, it is possible, I suppose. Something to do with Brian Boru? Thomas asked. He set some laws down, yes, Bates told him. But there are written laws, laws that are even before the Christians came to the Western Islands, Druidic laws, so I am given to understand, Bates added. But he believed it, Thomas interjected, and thumped his hand on the door frame. Her next legal guardian was being tracked down, but somehow, he found out, and raped her. Thomas dipped her head. And the worst of it. The very worst. I could have kept her safe, Thomas. I was a floor away. Bates shouted, then turned away. Anna. Still says that an intruder happened to break in, and happened to attack her. He shook his head. It was Green, Lord Gillingham's valet. It could only be him. I fain tell you who it is, Thomas told him. Milo told me, today. After keeping it a secret for over a year, she lost the child she was carrying because of it. She flinches from me, even now. Anna wouldn't even look at me. A moment passed between them, and Bates laid a hand on Thomas's shoulder. "Well, thank you for listening, Bates," he told him, and walked past Bates to go downstairs and back to their room. "Thomas," he turned, and saw Bates's face in the moonlight. "If there is anything at all, that I can do for you, or the girl, Miss Ashby, let me know." Thomas felt his heart soften. He was glad he had told Bates. She would be grateful of your support, even if you do nothing at all." Bates clapped him on the shoulder again. "There is someone else assisting, who can take much more of a risk than I'd ever ask of you." Thomas laughed, darkly. He said he knows of something that will put pay to this man's ambitions for the rest of his life. "And Anna, if there is anything I can do," Thomas replied. "Much appreciated." "Her ladyship's soap," Bates reminded him. Thomas shook his head. "But I don't know how to say that in the Irish language." And Thomas thought he heard in Bates's sigh that he understood entirely. "There is one thing you can do, Mr. Bates," Thomas told him, as they made to go back into their cramped room. "If I can, then I will," Bates told him. "Milo bears no ill will to anyone at any time for anything," Thomas told him. "It's how she is, more's the pity. She's coming with us to the beach tomorrow, or at least that was the last thing she said on the matter." He put a hand to his head. "I know it would mean a great deal to you if you were to tell her you were her friend. She would like you forever if you did." In the darkness, Bates smiled. "Consider it done, Barrow, consider it done." 88,888,888 in the end. Both Bates and Anna said they were sorry if they'd been less than friendly to Milo in the past, and a tired Milo said the same. "I can see now I was wrong about you. I would like it very much to be your friend, Miss Ashby." Bates and Anna stood side by side, and smiled kindly to Milo, who then repeated back what Bates had said. Then Thomas and Milo watched them walk over to the ice cream stand. "That wasn't hard, was it?" Thomas asked her. Yawning again, Milo shook her head. "D'you want one?" Milo shook her head. "Not an ice cream?" he asked, incredulously, as some children tore past them. Mrs. Hughes and Carson were attempting to paddle in the sea. "I don't like it," Milo told him. "You're hopeless," Thomas told her, and went to get one for himself. "Are you enjoying it?" "It's nice here," she told him, shaking her head when he offered her a lick. "We went to Whitby once. The beach was sandier. There are more pebbles and different types of shells here." Then she stepped in front of him, and looked up to his grey eyes, as he frowned, mid-lick. "Thomas, I want to go to Copenhagen," she told him, beseechingly. "To work with Boa." "You met him once, sir, and told me you did." "Listen, Milo," Thomas began, but was cut off. Cockcroft and Walton are going, as well as Friss and Chadwick. "I will be well, Thomas. I want to see the lights that Boa has shown, to prove different atoms have different electrons, which absorb energies. I want to hear him tell me about Werner Heisenberg's work, and why that's better energy levels." Listen, Milo," Thomas told her, seriously. "You need to speak to Prue." Milo looked at him for a little while longer, then looked away. "I do not want revenge, Thomas," she told him, looking at the stony beak. "He needs to know it. Prue knows the words for you to say. I know you don't want revenge, but he needs to know that he cannot behave like that to you, or anyone. Branson, cannot go back." Milo almost whispered the words, and then looked up to Thomas again. He was still her legal guardian. She wasn't 21 for another 18 months. "I'm going to Copenhagen," she told him. "I am sorry, if you don't approve, I'm sorry. I have to try this, Thomas. I want to be a physicist, not just the sister of a physicist." "But, Prue, let me think about it, Thomas. Please." "Going will give me the strength to try." She looked at Thomas sternly. "You know what the worst was over everything?" Thomas braced himself. But Milo, being Milo, said something he completely did not expect. "He told me he would put a stop to university. Can't you see that by doing this, for me, makes it the best revenge in the world?" And at that moment, Thomas Barrow could see, he had glimpsed an insight to Milo Ashby's world, and her priorities, and the fear that drove her. "Of course you must go to Copenhagen," Thomas told her. "And I will look forward very much to seeing you and you telling me exactly what you did and saw there." And Milo jumped up, throwing her arms around Thomas's neck, making him squash his ice cream. Not long after, and after a replacement ice cream, Thomas walked Milo to Brighton Station and saw her safely onto a train which would take her to Cambridge, telling her it would not be long until he visited. He had an ulterior motive with Blackett though, of course, and that he couldn't be prouder of her than how she had handled herself the night before. A dance with the future king, and an open invitation to stay in America, and again, how proud he would be when she did go to work in Copenhagen. And as he watched the train depart, Thomas realized that he really meant it.